Poems by Emily Dickinson, edited by two of her friends, Mabel Loomis Todd and T.W. Higginson. Preface. The verses of Emily Dickinson belong empathetically to what Emerson long since called the poetry of the portfolio, something produced absolutely without the thought of publication and solely by way of expression of the writer's own mind. Such verse must inevitably forfeit whatever advantage lies in the discipline of public criticism and the enforced conformity to accepted ways. On the other hand, it may often gain something through the habit of freedom and the unconventional utterance of daring thoughts. In the case of the present author, there was absolutely no choice in the matter. She must write thus, or not at all. A recluse by temperament and habit, literally spending years without setting her foot beyond the doorstep, and many more years during which her walks were strictly limited to her father's grounds, she habitually concealed her mind, like her person, from all but a very few friends, and it was with great difficulty that she was persuaded to print, during her lifetime, 3 of 4 poems. Yet she wrote verses in great abundance, and though brought curiously indifferent to all conventional rules, had yet a rigorous literary standard of her own, and often altered a word many times to suit an ear which had its own tenacious fastidiousness. Miss Dickinson was born in Amherst, Mass., December 10th, 1830, and died there May 15th, 1886. Her father, Hon. Edward Dickinson, was the leading lawyer of Amherst, and was treasurer of the well-known college there situated. It was his custom once a year to hold a large reception at his house, attended by all the families connected with the institution and by the leading people of the town. On these occasions his daughter Emily emerged from her wonted retirement and did her part as gracious hostess. Nor would anyone have known from her manner, I have been told, that this was not a daily occurrence. The annual occasion once passed, she withdrew again into her seclusion, and except for a very few friends was as invisible to the world as if she had dwelt in a nunnery. For myself, although I had corresponded with her for many years, I saw her but twice face to face, and brought away the impression of something as unique and remote as Undine and Mignon and Thecla. This selection from her poems is published to meet the desire of her personal friends, and especially of her surviving sister. It is believed that the thoughtful reader will find in these pages a quality more suggestive of the poetry of William Blake than of anything to be elsewhere found, flashes of wholly original and profound insight into nature and life, words and phrases exhibiting an extraordinary vividness of description and imaginative power, yet often set in a seemingly whimsical or even rugged frame. They are here published as they were written, with very few and superficial changes, although it is fair to say that the titles have been assigned, almost invariably, by the editors. In many cases these verses will seem to the reader like poetry torn up by the roots, with rain and dew and earth still clinging to them, giving a freshness and a fragrance not otherwise to be conveyed. In other cases, as in the few poems of shipwreck or of mental conflict, we can only wonder at the gift of vivid imagination by which this recluse woman can delineate, by a few touches, the very crisis of physical or mental struggle. And sometimes again we catch glimpses of a lyric strain, sustained perhaps but for a line or two at a time, and making the reader regret its sudden cessation. But the main quality of these poems is that of extraordinary grasp and insight, uttered with an uneven vigor sometimes exasperating, seemingly wayward, but really unsought and inevitable. After all, when a thought takes one's breath away, a lesson on grammar seems an impertinence. As Ruskin wrote in his earlier and better days, no weight nor mass nor beauty of execution can outweigh one grain or fragment of thought. Thomas Wentworth Higginson. This is my letter to the world, that never wrote to me, the simple news that nature told, with tender majesty. Her message is committed to hands I cannot see, for love of her, sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. 1. Life. 1. Success. Published in A Masque of Poets, at the request of H.H., the author's fellow townswoman and friend. Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. To comprehend a nectar requires sorest need. Not one of all the purple host who took the flag today can tell the definition so clear of victory as he defeated dying, on whose forbidden ear the distant strains of triumph break agonized and clear. 2. Our share of night to bear, our share of morning, our blank in bliss to fill, our blank in scorning. Here a star and there a star, some lose their way, here a mist and there a mist, afterwards, day. 3. Rouge Et Noir. Soul, wilt thou toss again? By just such a hazard, hundreds have lost, indeed, but tens have won in all. Angel's breathless ballot lingers to record thee. Imps in eager caucus raffle for my soul. 4. Rouge Gagne. 'Tis so much joy, 'tis so much joy. If I should fail, what poverty! And yet, as poor as I, have ventured all upon a throw, have gained, yes, hesitated so, this side of victory. Life is but life, and death but death. Bliss is but bliss, and breath but breath. And if, indeed, I fail, at least to know the worst is sweet. Defeat means nothing but defeat, no drearier can prevail. And if I gain, O gun at sea, O bells that in the steeples be, at first repeat it slow, for heaven is a different thing, conjectured and waked sudden in, and might overwhelm me so. 5. Glee, the great storm is over. 4 have recovered the land, 40 gone down together into the boiling sand. Ring for the scant salvation, toll for the bonny souls, neighbor and friend and bridegroom spinning upon the shoals. How they will tell the shipwreck when winter shakes the door, till the children ask, but the 40, did they come back no more? Then a silence suffuses the story, and a softness the teller's eye, and the children no further question, and only the waves reply. 6. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can cease one life from aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. 7. Almost! Within my reach, I could have touched, I might have chanced that way. Soft sauntered through the village, sauntered as soft away. So unsuspected violets within the fields lie low, too late for striving fingers that passed an hour ago. 8. A wounded deer leaps highest, I've heard the hunter tell. 'Tis but the ecstasy of death, and then the break is still. The smitten rock that gushes, the trampled steel that springs, a cheek is always redder, just where the hectic stings. Mirth is the mail of anguish, in which it cautious armed, lest anybody spy the blood, and, "You're hurt," exclaim. 9. The heart asks pleasure first, and then excuse from pain, and then those little anodynes that deaden suffering, and then to go to sleep, and then, if it should be, the will of its inquisitor, the liberty to die. 10. In a library. A precious mouldering pleasure 'tis to meet an antique book, in just the dress his century wore, a privilege, I think, his venerable hand to take, and warming in our own, a passage back or two to make, to times when he was young, his quaint opinions to inspect, his knowledge to unfold, on what concerns our mutual mind, the literature of old. What interested scholars most, what competitions ran, when Plato was a certainty, and Sophocles a man, when Sappho was a living girl, and Beatrice wore the gown that Dante deified, facts centuries before. He traverses familiar, as one should come to town, and tell you all your dreams were true. He lived where dreams were sown. His presence is enchantment, you beg him not to go. Old volumes shake their vellum heads, and tantalize just so. 11. Much madness is divinest sense to a discerning eye. Much sense the starkest madness, 'tis the majority. In this, as all prevails, assent and you are sane. Demur, you're straightway dangerous, and handled with a chain. 12. I asked no other thing, no other was denied. I offered being for it, the mighty merchant smiled. Brazil? He twirled a button, without a glance my way. But, madam, is there nothing else that we can show today? 13. Exclusion. The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door. On her divine majority obtrude no more. Unmoved she notes the chariots pausing at her low gate. Unmoved an emperor is kneeling upon her mat. I've known her from an ample nation. Choose one, then close the valves of her attention like stone. 14. The secret. Some things that fly there be, birds, ours, the bumblebee. Of these no elegy. Some things that stay there be, grief, hills, eternity. Nor this behoveth me. There are that resting rise. Can I expound the skies? How still the riddle lies. 15. The lonely house. I know some lonely houses off the road, a robber like the look of, wooden barred, and windows hanging low, inviting to a portico, where two could creep, one hand the tools, the other peep, to make sure all's asleep, old-fashioned eyes, not easy to surprise. How orderly the kitchen look by night, with just a clock, but they could gag the tick, and mice won't bark, and so the walls don't tell, none will. A pair of spectacles ajar just stir, and almanacs aware. Was it the mat winked, or a nervous star? The moon slides down the stair to see who's there. There's plunder. Where? Tankard or spoon, earring or stone, a watch, some ancient brooch, to match the grandmamma, stayed sleeping there. Day rattles, too, stealth's slow. The sun has got as far as the third sycamore. Screams chanticleer, who's there? And echoes trains away. Sneer, where? While the old couple, just astir, fancy the sunrise left the door ajar. 16. To fight aloud is very brave, but gallanter I know, who charge within the bosom the cavalry of woe, who win and nations do not see, who fall and none observe, whose dying eyes no country regards with patriot love. We trust in plumed procession, for such the angels go, rank after rank, with even feet and uniforms of snow. 17. Dawn. When night is almost done, and sunrise grows so near that we can touch the spaces, it's time to smooth the hair, and get the dimples ready, and wonder we could care for that old faded midnight, that frightened button hour. 18. The Book of Martyrs. Read, sweet, how others strove, till we are stouter, what they renounced, till we are less afraid, how many times they bore the faithful witness, till we are helped, as if a kingdom cared. Read then of faith that shone above the faggot, clear strains of hymn the river could not drown. brave names of men, and celestial women, passed out of record into renown. 19. The mystery of pain. Pain has an element of blank. It cannot recollect where it began, or if it were, a day when it was not. It has no future but itself, its infinite realms contain, its past enlightened to perceive new periods of pain. 20. I taste a liquor never brewed, from tankards scooped in pearl. Not all the vat upon the Rhine yields such an alcohol. Inebriate of air am I, and debauchee of dew, reeling through endless summer days from inns of molten blue. When landlords turn the drunken bee out of the foxglove's door, when butterflies renounce their drams, I shall but drink the more, till seraphs swing their snowy hats and saints to windows run to see the little tippler leaning against the sun. 21. A book. He ate and drank the precious words. His spirit grew robust. He knew no more that he was poor, nor that his frame was dust. He danced along the dingy days, and this bequest of wings was but a book, what liberty a loosened spirit brings. 22. I had no time to hate, because the grave would hinder me, and life was not so ample I could finish enmity, nor had I time to love, but since some industry must be, the little toil of love, I thought, was large enough for me. 23. Unreturning. 'Twas such a little, little boat that toddled down the bay. 'Twas such a gallant, gallant sea that beckoned it away. 'Twas such a greedy, greedy wave that licked it from the coast, nor ever guessed the stately sails my little craft was lost. 24. Whether my bark went down at sea, whether she met with gales, whether to isles enchanted she bent her docile sails, by what mystic mooring she is held today, this is the errand of the eye out upon the bay. 25. Belshazzar had a letter, he never had but one. Belshazzar's correspondent concluded and begun, and that immortal copy, the conscious of us all, can read without its glasses on Revelation's wall. 26. The brain within its groove runs evenly and true, but let a splinter swerve, 'twere easier for you to put the water back when floods have slit the hills, and scooped a turnpike for themselves, and blotted out the mills.